Right, question 6. We have to do some differentiation with the product rule, and then we have to use that to try and find a stationary point using an iteration formula. So that's increasingly common these days, that rather than just asking you to solve f of x equals naught using iteration, we're solving f dashed x, or dy by dx equals naught. Same process, but we're doing it with f dashed x rather than f of x. The first part is to do the differentiation. So we have our function, which is y is in brackets x squared minus 5x plus 8 e to the x squared. Notice it's x squared, not just x. Always good practice to write out the equation rather than just doing it from the question, because there's a big gap there and you might copy something wrong. If you're confident, you could just go for it and do the product rule directly. If you're not quite so confident, you'll want to write out u's and v's. So I'll do that. So u is x squared minus 5x plus 8, and v is e to the x squared. So du by dx is easy. Du by dx is 2x minus 5. dv by dx, we have to do the chain rule. So e to the blob becomes e to the blob multiplied by the derivative of the blob. So that is e to the x squared times 2x. Or to put it another way, 2x e to the x squared. So plugging that in, so dy by dx is uv, which is the original quadratic, times dv by dx, so u dv by dx, which is 2x e to the x squared, plus v du, or v du by dx, so e to the x squared, so it's 2x minus 5 e to the x squared. And then the obvious thing is to factorize out e to the x squared. So if we check the question, they've got it at the end. I would have probably put it at the front, but we'll put it at the end. So we've got x squared minus, oh, sorry, that's wrong. We've got to multiply by 2x here. So we've got 2x cubed minus 10x squared. I'm just taking this 2x back into the bracket, plus 16x. And then here we've got a 2x and a minus 5, e to the x squared. And then simplifying that, 2x cubed minus 10x squared plus 18x minus 5 e to the x squared as required. I think that is correct. Just double check. 2 minus 10, 18 minus 5. Yep, that's correct. Okay, now we've got this iteration formula, but we're working with dy by dx rather than with y. But it's, other than that, it's a standard sort of question. So dy by dx is negative at 0.3, it's positive at 0.4. Explain why this value alpha, which is the stationary point, has to be between 0.3 and 0.4. So it's because it's going from negative to positive, it must pass through 0. Okay, so how do we explain that? There's one important point that a lot of people missed. F dashed alpha equals naught. So we know that f dashed of 0.3 is less than naught, and f dashed 0.4 is greater than naught. So the phrase that we need is change of sign and f dashed x is continuous implies alpha must lie in the interval 0.3 to 0.4. Therefore, 0.3 is less than alpha is less than 0.4. You must get this word continuous and change of sign. Those are the critical parts of the answer. A lot of people didn't bother to say that it was continuous, but you have to. Okay, so that was that one. Show that alpha is a solution. Now, we're trying to rearrange, so we're trying to solve, so we're trying to again solve f dashed x equals naught. So that implies that this whole thing here, 2x cubed minus 10x squared plus 18x minus 5 e to the x squared equals naught. Now, e to the x squared is never 0. So that implies that it's just the cubic plus 18x minus 5 equals 0. Now, we have to try and rearrange that into this formula, and some people had some trouble with that. There's a couple of ways of doing this. I'm just going to write down the target, if you like. This is what we're aiming for. X is, so it's 5 brackets 2x squared, 5 2x squared plus 1 over 2 brackets x squared plus 9. That's what we're aiming for. Now, quite a lot of people had difficulty turning this into this. If you're really struggling, you could always try starting with the target and turning it back into the original, but that will not do as your solution because it's another show that question where they're giving you the answer, and show that questions means that you have to start with what you know is true and finish with what you're aiming to show. You can't start with the answer and end up with the question, if you see what I mean. So, but if you can't see it, you could do that as a bit of side work and then see what you have to do. But if you try and do that a bit mentally, right? If you multiplied this denominator back up here, you've got 2x squared plus 18. If you expand that denominator and then multiply it up, you're going to get 2x cubed plus 18x. Now that is this term and this term. So these two terms are going to form the denominator with an x factorized out. And these two terms are going to form the numerator. So that's how we're going to do it, right? So from here, we're going to keep these two terms on the left. So 2x cubed plus 18x. I'm going to take the other two terms over the other side. And then we're just going to factorize. In fact, 2x comes out of here. So x squared plus 9. And 5 comes out of here. And then we just divide by the 2 and the bracket. So x is 5, 2x minus 1. Sorry, I've lost a squared there. And on the bottom, x squared, 2x squared plus 9. Okay, and so it's got a bit messy there, but that is as required. Okay, as required. So, as I said, you could, I've only written that down for reference because I didn't want to keep scrolling up and down. But if you weren't sure, you could literally multiply this all back out again, but then you must write it out forwards to get the marks. Okay. So then part D, we are using this as an iteration formula. So xn plus 1 is 5 times 2xn squared minus 1 over 2xn squared plus 9, and x1 is 0.3. So for part 1, we've got to find x3. So x2 is 5 times twice 0.3 squared minus 1 over twice 0.3 squared plus 9. Now, in reality, you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to type on your calculator, you're going to do 0.3 equals to get it into the answer memory. And then you're going to type in 5 brackets 2 answer squared minus 1 over 2 answer squared plus 9, and then you're just going to keep pressing the equals button, right? You don't, there's, there is disagreement about how much working out you need for this. There's not a lot of marks going, and basically you just need to get the right answers, but you should at least write down the value of x2 in order to get to x3. So I'm going to do it using the answer button. So 0.3 equals, and then type in the formula using the answer button. So 5 open brackets, 2 answer squared minus 1 close brackets over 2 open brackets answer squared plus 9 close brackets. And that gives me in decimal. Really? 5, 2 answer squared minus 1, 2 brackets answer squared plus 9. I've got negative. Is that right? I don't remember it going negative because I've probably made a mistake. It's plus 1. It's plus 1, not minus 1. It's not my day. Right. Try that again. So 0.3 equals, and then I need to change that numerator to a plus. Okay. Okay. So x2 is, sorry about that, is 0.324532. Looks like a recurring decimal. And x3, if I just press equals again, is 0.33239975542. The question wanted 4 decimal places. So that's approximately 0.3324 to 4dp. And then for part 2, they want alpha. Well, alpha is the true solution. What you just have to do is you have to keep going until it stabilizes at 4dp. So alpha to 4dp is the solution. I'm going to use the words, you don't have to write this. I'm writing this for your benefit. Stabilized at 4 decimal places. Okay. So you just have to keep going, right? So keep pressing the button until it stops changing at the fourth decimal place. So alpha, I've pressed it about 5 or 6 more times, is 0.3364 to 4dp. Okay. Hopefully that's correct. Okay, so that is that question finished. 10 marks, quite a big question.